We're in 2022 and that also kind of feels like the number of omnibuses that are going to be released this year. Woof woof! Hey guys, it's me Marcus, aka the Mad Dog, and we're back with another video. But kicking off this list, I've got Batgirl of B Inside. I know some people already have this, and I can't lie, I'm kinda jealous. But this is pretty much the follow-up to Gail Simone, and it's from the New 52 era, which, yes of course, is my jam. But this is the part of the run that I didn't get a chance to read, and I'm really excited to. If 2 months ago I had to put money on which DC Omnibus I reckon would get cancelled before it got released, it'd be this one. So I really just want to pick this up, and I'm hoping that it continues in a similar level of quality as what came before it. But you can already pre-order this book and pretty much any other that's going to be on this list from the channel sponsor, Organic Price Books. You've got great packaging, fast shipping, and amazing customer services. And if you use code WOOFWOOF, you'll get $2 off your order. And good news, because of the fact that there's so many omnibuses that are coming out this year, you can use that code as many times as you like. Number 14, I've got The Question by Denny O'Neil. I've heard that this is a volume 1. It'll be interesting to see how quickly we get a volume 2 if we do get one at all. But this is one of those titles that I've heard people talking about for years that I never really got a chance to read the full thing of. It reminds me a lot of stuff like Green Arrow by Mike Grell, Swamp Thing by Nancy A. Collins, and probably something like Legion 5 years later, because I've heard so many people talk about it and I've read other books that he's done, and I also like The Question as a character and I'd really like to read a lot more about them. I'm currently doing research for another Who Is video in a similar way to what I did for Power Girl, and I learned a lot about The Question during my research, so I think that this is going to be a great book that I can add to my collection. Number 13, I've got X-Men Fall of the Mutants. Now I know that this might be quite high for a lot of people and it might be blasphemous that it hasn't even broken into the top 10, but do just have to remind you that this is my personal list. However, I'm still quite excited to pick up this book, but I did have that original hardcover. I think maybe I'm just a little bit bitter because of the fact that I sold that before it really became a massive whale, but still the last 2 years have been great for X-Men omnibuses, and it just feels like Fall of the Mutants is one of those final puzzle pieces that we need to complete this great run. And for anybody wondering, I am without a doubt going to go for the classic cover. That's the cover that was on the original hardcover, so it kind of feel like everything's come full circle if that's the cover that I end up getting. Number 12, I've got 100 Bullets Volume 2. I really want to use 2022 as a year where I revisit a lot of classic Vertigo series. I love when I went back and reviewed Why the Last Man. Transmetropolitan's a book that I've owed a revisit to for a good couple of years now. I want to do the complete Fables now that the 4th compendium's come out, and 100 Bullets is another one of those titles that I've read bits and pieces of, but now I want to go back and do the full thing. So with this second volume coming out, even though it does look like it's going to be quite a whammy boy, I still can't wait to dip into this. I love Brian Azzarello, I love Eduardo Risso, and I think when these two come together and do work, it's always just great. At number 11, a character that I think is going to absolutely dominate 2022, but I've got She-Hulk by Peter David. This is a bit of a slimmer omnibus. Maybe a couple of years ago it would have just been an oversized hardcover, but either way it is great that we are getting more modern runs from this character. For someone like myself who maybe hasn't read a lot about it, I still need to jump into this Dan Slott run. I'm thinking of maybe reading it before the Disney Plus show comes out. Yeah, I need the views. But from what I've read of Peter David's X Factor, his Incredible Hulk stuff, and also his time on the Friendly Neighborhood Spider-Man, there hasn't really been a lot from him that I haven't enjoyed. I'm hoping that She-Hulk's no exception, and I'm probably going to go for that David Finch cover. Even if it means I have to pay about 10 quid extra, that is the version that I want. But whilst we're on the topic of Peter David, my number 10 pick is The Incredible Hulk Volume 4. I believe that this rounds out this series. I hope it does because of the fact that these are very big books and I want to do a complete read through with this run. But to me, this just proves that we are in the golden age of collected editions. The fact that classic runs like this are being released in this format that we can easily pick up and not have to get about 20 or so different trade paperbacks, but then we're still getting more modern runs coming out at the same time. I think this just proves that this is the best time to be a collector, and I am fully ready to embrace it. I love both of these covers, so I don't know which one I'm going to go for, but some of this stuff in the 4th volume are the part of Peter David's run that I've already read. It was the earlier stuff that I'd never really touched on, so it's nice that I'm picking up this 4th and possibly final volume and knowing that I actually like the stuff that's in it. I can't help the fact that I wasn't born at the time when Peter David started writing the Hulk, but I just like that I've now got the chance to catch up. Number 9, we're breaking into the single digits in the same way that this character would break into a safe, because I've got Catwoman of East Side. But finally, it looks like DC's paying attention to some of the runs that have just been completely forgotten about in recent years. It hasn't been that easy to collect this, and I'm praying that DC doesn't cancel this book, or worse, just relegate it to a trade paperback like they did with Batwing. Is that worse? I'm not sure. I am liking this direction that DC's going in and giving a wide range of different omnibuses. It seems like they aren't putting out as many as Marvel, but there's a lot of them that are ending up in this list. But still, I'm hoping that they branch even further and we get a Batman by Ed Brubaker omnibus. Maybe we get Robin by Chuck Dixon, or the one that I wanted the most, Nightwing by Chuck Dixon. And as well, it's got Darwin Cook art, so even though I do wish that that part would probably be an absolute edition, it's still going to be great having this book. Number 8, I've got Moon Knight by Houston, Benson and Hurwitz. Now, Moon Knight is a character that I think is very, very underrated. I did a video talking about who he is, so if you aren't sure, just feel free to watch that video. But I love the Jeff Lemire run, and I'm even an apologist for the Brian Michael Bendis series. And this was my first introduction into Moon Knight because of the fact that I just remember that David Finch art being on the front cover. I picked up that volume, I wasn't really sure what I was in for, and some of those issues stuck with me, I can't lie. I can't wait to revisit this. I hope it's as good as I remember it when I was reading it at about the age of 13. And because of the fact that it seems like Marvel's massively relegated the Punisher, and yes, I'm wearing the classic Punisher logo on my hoodie right now because that's the logo that we should have. I feel like Moon Knight's moving into the position of being that Marvel character that can be brutal and not have to apologise for it. Number 7, I've got Thor by Matt Fraction. Now, if this was a different member of the Avengers that was written by Matt Fraction, then it would very easily be number 1 on this list. But unfortunately, this isn't Invincible Iron Man, but we still got a great story that's in this book. This was my version of Thor that I was reading when it was coming out, and I absolutely loved this run. It's massively underrated. I love the Oliver Copiel art, and yeah, I'm still not sure if I'm saying his name right. I even put this in my Where to Start Thor because of the fact that I think that this is a great volume for new readers. And I'm excited to go back and revisit this. I'm hoping that we get other similar Thor books from that time, stuff like Siege, and I'm starting to get that nostalgia for it, so I'm feeling the way that I've heard other people discuss that they felt when books like Uncanny X-Men got released, and it's just starting to feel like it's my time to get that feeling as well. Number 6, I've got The Flash by Jeff Johns Volume 3. Yeah, even though I picked up Flashpoint, this is a book that I still need in my collection. This includes The Flash that I started picking up in single issues, and it rounds out this run, and I honestly think that this is some of the strongest parts of this series. Barry Allen's back in the role. We also get the build up to Flashpoint along with the event itself. You've got beautiful Francis Manapul art, and I honestly don't mind the double dip in between this and Flashpoint. Still, it's great to round out this run, and I hope that they put a different image of the Flash on the dust jacket just because of the fact that it just looks like the Flash is stalking the Flash between volume 1 and 2. Yeah, I know I'm pointing off camera, but if you've got those two books, you know what I mean. Number 5, I've got Black Panther by Ta-Nehisi Coates. Now, I probably should have said this earlier, but this list is only going to be including books that are scheduled to be released up to about July, but this book by Ta-Nehisi Coates is one that I need. I loved the first part of this run. I was reading it in single issues, and then unfortunately, I just dropped reading single issues altogether, and I've now got a chance to go back and read this full thing, and I just can't wait. Black Panther's a phenomenal character, and I wish we would have got some omnibuses before his first film, but it looks like Marvel's wasting no time. They're bringing out some great volumes, and this is the one that's probably top of my list for this character. I'm looking forward to reading some more modern Black Panther, and I'm perfectly happy with the standard cover, but regardless of which way I went, this was a book that needed to enter the dog pound. Number 4, and a book that I'm surprised isn't higher, but I've got the Justice League New 52 Volume 2. Now, in case you're wondering why I'm not including books like Batman No Man's Land, I've tried to not include anything that was in my last most anticipated omnibuses. I'm glad that we're rounding out this series, and even though I do feel like this run peaked in volume 1, I'm still interested to see where the rest of this goes. I'm glad that they included the final couple of issues that weren't even done by Jeff Johns, and I'm excited to go back and read Forever Evil in a hopefully cohesive order, but it's just great that the New 52 is finally getting its time in the spotlight. I know it's been over 10 years since it started, which just feels weird to me, but there's not really a lot more that I can say about this book. I just can't wait. Number 3, and a book that completely caught me by surprise in the way that they're releasing this, but either way, I am very excited that we're going to be getting The Young Avengers by Alan Heinberg and Jimmy Chung. The Young Avengers is very important to me because when it came to me reading the Earth's Mightiest Heroes, I started with New Avengers and then immediately jumped to Young Avengers. I was around a similar age to what these characters were, so when this book came out, it just meant a lot. I've got the original hardcover, and I'm glad that I can finally sell that because of the fact that I could just never get my hands on the Children's Crusade. And yeah, I did believe that when they re-released the omnibus with Kieran Gillen, they might have just included this in it. But either way, I'm just glad that this team's getting a bit of attention. I've tried to promote them on this channel before, so if you're not sure who they are, then check out that video. And hopefully we are going to get stuff like a Mighty Avengers omnibus, maybe a Dark Avengers or even Dark Reign omnibus. It's just mad that this book's being released, and it means a lot to me, which is why it's probably higher up on my list than it probably is for most other people. Number 2, and I've tried my best to not put reprints in this list, but how could I not for this title? Because it's Gotham Central. This is one of my favourite books of all time, and when the omnibus was originally released, I was stupid enough to tell myself that because I had the 4 standard size hardcovers that I was okay not getting it. And then as soon as it went out of print, I didn't just have FOMO, I actually had regret. I haven't felt that for a lot of books, and that's probably the reason why when it did get announced that it's getting a reprint, I just knew that I had to pick this up. It's going to be a great year for Batman, and I hope that there's more omnibuses for that character and also the Bat family that are going to be announced throughout the year, alongside the Robert Pattinson movie that I'm still fully invested in and I'm hoping is going to be great. But finally being able to get my hands on this without paying scalper prices is something that I'm very excited about, which is the reason why it's going to be the only reprint that makes it onto this list. And why it's so high up on the list, I feel like this might actually be a bit of an insult to some of the new books that are going to be released. But before we get into my number one pick, I'm going to do a couple of honourable mentions. First up, and I did this last time, but I've got all upcoming Conan omnibuses. I'm still on the Conan hype train. It isn't going as fast as it probably was about 2 years ago, and I can't lie, my wallet does not like this character at the minute because these books are still coming out thick and fast. I'm at the stage where I don't even know which books are coming out, but stuff like King Conan I got a bit excited for, and I still don't know how many more volumes we need, but I'm still in and I'm going to pick up as many of these books as they release. Another honourable mention, I've got all upcoming Star Wars. Yeah, I'm even going to be upgrading stuff like my hardcovers of Darth Vader, but I'm excited for Rise of the Sith, I'm excited for Empire, I can't wait to get my hands on the New Republic, and I'm just glad that I'm bolstering up my Star Wars collection. But either way, if you put that Star Wars label on it, for at least the next year, I'm gonna buy it. And my last honourable mention, even though there's still quite a handful of great books that are coming out that haven't made it into this list at all, but it's me showing my British side because it's going to be Knights of Pendragon and also Excalibur Volume 2. What world am I living in that we're actually getting a Knights of Pendragon omnibus? I felt like I was dreaming when they said that we're getting a Captain Britain reprint, and I'm still gonna buy that even though I've got the original. But yeah, I can't even try and bullshit you and say that I've read Knights of Pendragon, but I'm still excited to pick up this book. I feel like it's an untapped part of Marvel's history, and it's just great that we're finally getting a chance to experience that. Some of the issues that are in this book were never even published outside of Marvel UK, and it's just impressive that Marvel's got that much faith in this title that they're actually bringing this out. But my number one pick, a book that I knew had to happen at some point, and even though I'm saying it now, I still don't believe that they're actually doing it. But of course, you may have already guessed it, but it's Thor by Jason Aaron. The stuff with Gore, the stuff with Jane, everything about this is great. Now, I haven't read all of this run already, but the parts of it that I have, there is not a single issue that I disliked. And I said earlier that we're in the golden age of collected editions, and I think that this just proves it. For years and years, people have been asking for this title, and we're finally getting it. Us, as the readers, as the collectors, are getting exactly what we wanted. There was not another book on this list that even came close to the excitement that I've got for Thor by Jason Aaron. And honestly, even though this isn't Whale Watch, this is a book that I'd already recommend just picking up as soon as you can get it. Marvel must know that they need to print a lot of this book, and I still don't think that they're gonna have enough. But regardless, this had to make the top of the list, and regardless of the books that are coming out in the second half of 2022, I don't think that any of them would beat Thor by Jason Aaron. But then again, I live to eat my own words, so we'll see what happens. And that's my list, and I'm excited to hear what you guys are looking forward to picking up in 2022. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you didn't, why did you get this far? But I guess that's the video. I'm gonna leave another one right here that I'd recommend for you. But until next time, just make sure that you stay safe and stay mad, all you dogs. Woof woof! See you at the next video.